The alien palace floated high above the crimson clouds of Zorath Prime. Its towers glimmered under the light of 3 suns, a symbol of power and fear. The alien queen, a tall figure with shimmering armor and eyes that glowed like molten silver, walked the marble halls with a heavy heart. Her daughters, the fierce alien princesses, were not just her children. They were the pride of the empire, warriors, unmatched in strength and cunning. But today, something was wrong. The doors to the royal chambers burst open, alarms blaring. Guards shouted and ran in every direction. The queen's private council rushed in, faces pale. And then, the impossible became reality. Her daughters were gone. Not a single trace of them remained in the palace. Their weapons were still in place. Their personal guards lay unconscious but unharmed. The queen's heart pounded in shock and fury. How could the most powerful daughters in the galaxy simply vanish without a fight? The palace security scanned every corner. Sensors detected no movement. Communication channels were empty. The hallways were silent except for the faint echo of the alarm. They are gone. One guard stammered, fear twisting his voice. The queen's eyes narrowed. Rage and worry burned together. She turned to her advisors. "Prepare the hunters," she commanded. "Find them, bring them back, alive or dead." Outside, in the swirling mists of the alien city, a shadow moved. Tiny, careful, almost invisible. No one noticed a Tex for a human on a distant, quiet planet, watching strange lights in the night sky. He did not know why, but something drew his attention. Something unusual, something alive. And waiting back in the palace, the queen clenched her fists. She had ruled for centuries, controlled entire worlds, and yet her daughters had slipped away like ghosts. Panic began to creep through the ranks. They could not have escaped the city, a senior officer argued. Our security is flawless. They must be hiding. Or, his voice dropped. Someone help them. The Queen Silver. Eyes flashed dangerously. No one helps them against me, she said coldly. But deep inside, a tiny fear took root. Her daughters were clever, yes. But the galaxy was full of dangers even. She could not protect them from everything. Hours passed, the sun scorched the city with blinding light. But still, there was no news. The palace fell silent again, save for the low hum of the alarms. And far across the stars, the human watched the light shift. He could not know that very soon the strongest alien princesses in the universe would come to him not as conquerors, not as enemies, but seeking something far more surprising. Comfort, trust, and a bond no one could have predicted. Inside the palace, the queen's advisors debated fiercely. "We must use the trackers," one said. "The daughters carry personal transponders." But when they activated them, the readings showed only empty space. The princesses were nowhere in the known galaxy. The queen's heart sank. She had faced rebellion, wars, and assassination attempts, but this was different. Her daughters had disappeared without a trace, and the calm precision of their vanishing suggested intelligence beyond her understanding, the humans. She thought bitterly. Could some unknown human be involved? Could they have crossed paths with her daughters already? The idea seemed impossible, yet the galaxy was stranger than any tale she had ever known. And somewhere, far from the Empire, the princesses rested. Silently. Their eyes were sharp, alert, but something softer lingered as strange, unfamiliar trust in the human who watched from below. Little did anyone know, this human, ordinary and fragile by comparison, was about to change everything. The palace doors slammed shut. The alarms faded, but the queen's mind raced. She would find them. She must. No force in the galaxy could prevent her from searching. But for the first time, uncertainty gnawed at her. Perhaps, this time, Even her power might not be enough. And so, the search began. Across stars and planets, through silence and shadow. The alien princesses had vanished and the galaxy waited to see where they would appear next. The night on planet Varel was quiet, almost too quiet. The winds swept across the barren hills, carrying the faint glow of distant stars. In a small, humble home on the edge of a forgotten valley, a human named Eli sat by a flickering lamp, repairing an old drone he had found in the scrapyard. He was clever, patient, and curious, but ordinary in every way at least. By human standards, suddenly, the sky above him shimmered. A ripple of blue light tore through the darkness, like water breaking over rocks. Eli squinted, shielding his eyes. His heart skipped a beat. Strange. No spacecraft in the region was capable of traveling this fast. His hands froze over the drone. Something unusual was coming. Something alive. Moments later, the shimmer grew stronger, twisting into shapes he could barely understand. The air crackled. Then, in a soft, almost graceful landing, 3 figures appeared before him, hidden in a swirl of faint light. Eli blinked. They were unlike anything he had seen. Tall, lithe, and glowing faintly under the twin moon's light. Their skin shimmered like silver, eyes like molten gold, and they moved with a precision and confidence that belonged to creatures far beyond human skill. These were the fierce alien princesses, lost, hunted, and seeking something unknown. For a moment, neither spoke. Eli's mind raced, trying to process the impossible. Alien royalty. The most powerful warriors in the galaxy, standing in his tiny yard. And yet, they did not look threatening. Not exactly. Their eyes were sharp, but curious, hesitant, almost. Seeking comfort, one of the princesses stepped forward. Her voice was melodic, but strange to human ears. "You are human?" she asked, tilting her head. The words were simple, but carried a weight of caution and disbelief. "Yes," Eli stammered. I mean, yes. Who are you?" "How did you get here?" His hands trembled slightly. He could feel their power, their grace, even from a distance. And yet, something about them drew a strange protective feeling out of him. The princesses exchanged glances. Their usual pride and confidence were softened, like a storm temporarily stilled. "We need shelter," another said, "and safety." Brow furrowed. Safety? From what? "They are coming," the third princess whispered, her voice sharp now with fear. "Hunters from our world. They will kill us if they find us." Eli's heart pounded. He had heard stories of alien empires, of wars in distant galaxies, but never had he imagined that those stories would arrive at his doorstep. Still, he did not hesitate. Somehow, he knew the right thing to do. "Come in," he said, quickly. "I'll hide you." The princesses moved cautiously, like shadows blending with the light, following him into the small, cluttered home. The walls creaked under their presence, but Eli did not care. Outside, the wind carried a distant hum like engines, slicing through the atmosphere, approaching fast. Inside, the princesses sat together, their forms tense but slowly relaxing. Eli noticed small details, a scar along one's arm, the faint glow beneath another's skin, a flicker of emotion in the eyes. Of the youngest, these were not just warriors. They were children in some ways, even if the galaxy saw them as unstoppable force. I don't know much," Eli said quietly, not wanting to scare them further. "But I'll help. I'll protect you." The tallest princess studied him, eyes narrowing. "You are human. Fragile. Weak. Maybe," Eli admitted. "But sometimes, even the weak can do things the strong cannot." The princesses stared at him, a mixture of skepticism and curiosity. There was something different about this human. something the galaxy had not seen before. And deep inside, they felt it too, a spark of trust, fragile but growing. Outside, shadows moved across the hills. The alien hunters had arrived on Virel. Engines roared faintly, but inside the small home, a fragile alliance had begun. Princesses and an unlikely trio, connected not by power but by necessity, curiosity, Tia, and an unspoken understanding that for the first time, Kushi, maybe humans, were more than they seemed. And as Eli closed the door, the princesses glanced at each other, tension in every movement. Somewhere in the galaxy, danger was closing in. But for now, they had found refuge. And perhaps a reason to hope. The small home on Virel was quiet now, though the tension in the air was thick. The three alien princesses sat in a triangle, their glowing forms pulsing faintly in the dim light. Outside, the faint hum of engines warned that danger was still near. But for the first time since their disappearance, they were not fighting it. It was time to observe, to understand. Eli watched them carefully. He'd grown up reading stories of aliens and warriors, but none of them had prepared him for this. They were beautiful, terrifying, and yet vulnerable. They shifted slightly, eyes darting to every corner, scanning for threats. "I don't mean to scare you," Eli said softly, careful with his words. "I just want to help." The tallest, Princess Valera, raised an eyebrow. "Help." Her voice was sharp, musical, and cold. "Why should we trust a human? You are weak, easily broken." "I may be weak," Eli admitted, "but sometimes the weak survive. When the strong fail." He looked into their eyes, steady, determined. There was something in him that made even Valera pause. Something alien hunters could not see. Courage that did not depend on strength. The middle princess, Leora, shifted closer to the youngest, Cirrus, who still trembled slightly. Leora's golden eyes studied Eli. "You are different," she said quietly. "Different from what we expected." Eli nodded. "I'm not from your world, I know that, but I want to protect you. I can't fight the hunters like you do, but I can hide you, guide you, maybe even help you escape." Valera tilted her head. "You speak boldly, for a fragile human. But you speak cautiously." For someone who vanished without warning, Eli countered. His words made them pause again. Even in their pride, the princesses could not deny it. He had courage. Suddenly, a faint sound echoed outside. A soft crunch, barely audible over the wind. The princesses stiffened, their glowing bodies dimming in warning. Eli froze too, heart racing. He could feel the danger getting closer. He glanced at them. "Stay behind me," he whispered. Valera's eyes softened just a little. "Do not expect us to follow blindly," she said. But she stayed, moving just behind him, a silent protector in return. Minutes passed. The sound faded, and the three princesses slowly relaxed again. Cirrus, the youngest, stepped closer to Eli, her small hand brushing his arm. Her eyes glimmered not with fear, but with something else. "Trust. You are not like the humans. In our stories," Leora said, "not weak, not selfish. You care." Eli smiled faintly. "I do. And I think that's why you came here. Somewhere inside, you wanted someone to trust." The princesses exchanged silent glances. For centuries, they had been trained to trust only themselves, to rely on strength, skill, and the empire that raised them. But here, on this small, quiet planet, they felt something new: curiosity, comfort, and a fragile sense of hope. Valera finally spoke again, her tone softer now. "We are different from the humans we have encountered before. Perhaps we underestimated your kind." "I'm glad," Eli said. "Because if we work together, maybe we can outsmart your hunters and survive." A quiet understanding settled over the room. They were still strangers, yet already a bond had begun. A bond forged not by power or fear, but by trust and necessity. And far outside, unseen by them, faint lights moved across the hills. The alien hunters were closing in, relentless, precise, and deadly. Eli looked at the princesses. They will come, soon, but together, we can face them. Valera's eyes glimmered with determination, Leora's with curiosity, and Cirrus's with cautious hope. For the first time in their lives, they were not alone. And perhaps, in this fragile human, they had found something more than safety: a partner, a protector. Someone who could change the rules of the galaxy forever. The wind howled outside, carrying whispers of danger, but inside the small home, a fragile alliance had been born. And as the first stars of Viral's twin moons shone through the cracked window, Eli realized something extraordinary. Humans could be more than they seemed, even to the most powerful alien princesses. The night deepened on planet Viral, and the small home grew quiet, except for the faint hum of machinery and the soft breathing of its unusual visitors. The three alien princesses sat in a loose circle, with Eli, the human who had become their protector. Though tension still lingered, the edges of fear were slowly softening. For the first time, the princesses spoke not as warriors, but as individuals, curious, cautious, and just a little uncertain. Cirrus, the youngest, leaned closer to Eli, her golden eyes reflecting the dim lamp. "Why? Why do you care?" she asked softly. Eli looked at her calmly. "Because someone has to. 'Cause it's the right thing to do. And because humans are not perfect. But we try to help when others are in danger." Valera, ever proud and cautious, crossed her arms. "Do not mistake your words for weakness," she said. "We are not children. We are trained. We are strong. The galaxy bows to us." "I know," Eli said, meeting her gaze. "But sometimes strength is not just muscles or weapons. Sometimes it's patience, thinking ahead, or even compassion. You may be strong, but you don't understand humans yet." Leora's eyes softened as she studied him. "Perhaps he is right," she whispered to herself. "Perhaps humans are different." Hours passed, and the three princesses began to share small fragments of their lives. Valera spoke of battles won, of planets conquered, of endless training, under the harsh gaze of their mother. Leora told stories of alliances and betrayals, of political games that decided the fate of entire worlds. Cirrus spoke little, but her eyes told stories of loneliness and longing, a desire for freedom. Away from duty and expectation, Eli listened quietly, absorbing every word. He did not interrupt. He did not judge. In this quiet room, the humans' calm presence began to act, like a bridge between their alien world and the fragile trust growing among them. "You have faced more than any human could imagine," Eli said softly. "And yet, here you are, seeking safety, just like anyone else would. You are not invincible, and that is understandable." Cirrus looked up at him with wide eyes. "You do not fear us?" she asked, a tremor in her voice. Eli shook his head. "I do not fear those who are scared themselves, and sometimes fear is what keeps us alive." A sudden flash outside startled them all. The wind shook the windows, carrying the faint hum of engines from the approaching alien hunters. Valera's body stiffened. Leora's eyes darted to the window. Cirrus clutched Eli's arm. "They are close," Valera said, voice tight with anger and worry. "We must prepare, or we will be taken." Eli stood, placing himself between the window and the princesses. "We will be ready," he said firmly. "I may be human, but I can be smart. I can protect you long enough to think of a plan. Trust me." For a moment, none of them moved. Then, slowly, Valera's stance softened. Leora's eyes narrowed in thought, and Cirrus gave a small nod. This human, small, ordinary, fragile by alien standards, was showing courage they had not expected. Courage that was different from theirs, yet somehow equally powerful. In the flickering lamplight, the princesses began to reveal their secrets. Hidden abilities, small tools, and even personal fears they had never shared with anyone. And Eli, in turn, shared his knowledge of the planet, his quick thinking and clever tricks that might help them escape. The bond grew. Not just survival, not just necessity, but a real connection, one built on trust, empathy, and an unspoken understanding that strength came in many forms. Outside, shadows moved closer. The hunters were patient, precise, relentless. But inside, the princesses began to feel something they had never felt in the galaxy's vast courts and battlefields. Hope. Hope that even a human could make a difference. Hope that perhaps the galaxy was not only ruled by power, but by those willing to stand for others. Hope that they might survive, not just survive, but form a bond strong enough to challenge everything they had ever known. And as the night stretched on with the distant hum of danger ever near, Eli realized something extraordinary. The most powerful alien warriors in the galaxy had chosen him not just as a protector, but as a friend. And in that choice lay a new kind of power, one that even the hunters would not understand. The wind howled across the hills of Virel, carrying the faint but unmistakable sound of engines slicing through the night sky. Eli and the three alien princesses had barely settled into a fragile routine, and now the hunters had arrived. Their presence was undeniable, shadows moving swiftly across the slopes, their lights cutting through the darkness. Valera's glowing form tensed immediately. "They have found us," she said, her voice low, filled with both anger and worry. The hunters never fail. Eli's heart pounded. He had no weapons, no training in combat. Yet he had something they did not: human ingenuity. "We'll find a way," he said firmly. "Follow my lead. Trust me." The first of the alien hunters emerged from the shadows. Towering figures, their armor dark and gleaming, weapons pulsing with deadly energy. They moved like predators, silent and precise, scanning for any trace of the princesses. Valera hissed under her breath. "They are faster than any ground patrol we have encountered. We cannot outrun them forever." Eli quickly scanned the terrain. The home was small, but there were hidden paths through the rocky hills, narrow tunnels only he knew. Well, use the hills," he said, pointing to the nearest ridge. "They can't follow us everywhere. Keep low, move quietly." The princesses nodded. Their bodies were tense, ready to strike. Yet for the first time, they trusted a human's plan. Valera glanced at Eli, eyes flickering with something she had not felt before: respect, as they moved. The hunters advanced with precision. One caught a faint shimmer of light. The human's ingenuity and the princess's faint glow made them visible. Valera hissed a warning, and Eli ducked behind a boulder, pulling the princesses down with him. "Stay quiet," he whispered. Cirrus's small hand gripped his arm, trembling slightly, but she did not speak. She had learned that humans, despite their apparent fragility, could see solutions others could not. The hunters paused, scanning, unaware that the human had already set small traps using old wires, rocks, and pieces of scrap. One hunter stepped on a cleverly placed wire, triggering a small but loud noise that drew the rest of the hunters away from their path. Valera's eyes widened. "Clever," she muttered. "Human, you think fast." Eli gave a small smile. But there was no time for pride. "Keep moving. We're not safe yet." The princesses followed silently, their glowing forms barely visible in the shadows. Leora glanced at Eli, curiosity mixing with admiration. "You are unlike anyone I have met. You see possibilities, not just threats. Eli's mind raced. The hunters were relentless, closing in. He led the group through narrow crevices and over sharp ridges, using the terrain to their advantage. The hunters, powerful as they were, struggled to keep up in the unfamiliar landscape. Suddenly, a hunter appeared directly ahead, blocking their path. Valera sprang forward instinctively, ready to strike, but Eli grabbed her arm. "Wait," he hissed. Using a piece of rock, he triggered a small landslide above the hunter. The boulder fell, forcing the hunter to retreat and creating just enough time for them to escape. SYR is looked at Eli with wide eyes. "You saved us," she whispered. "I just used my brain," Eli said quietly. "Brains can beat strength, sometimes." The group finally reached a hidden valley, a small hollow where shadows and rocks concealed their presence. The hunters passed by, unaware of their location. Valera, catching her breath, looked at Eli with a mixture of awe and cautious respect. "You? Humans may not be strong," she said slowly, "but your mind is sharp. You are different from what we believed. Perhaps we underestimated your kind." Eli smiled faintly, knowing that their survival was temporary, but their trust had grown. "We'll need a better plan for tomorrow," he said. "They won't give up so easily." In the quiet valley, the princesses huddled close to Eli. The night was far from over, and the galaxy outside was ruthless. But for the first time, the alien princesses felt something new: hope. Hope that perhaps even a human could change the outcome of a battle that seemed impossible. And somewhere in the distance, under the pale glow of Viral's twin moons, the hunters paused, sensing something unusual. Little did they know, the ones they hunted were no longer ordinary prey. They were protected by the ingenuity, courage, HFY, and cleverness of a human who refused to be weak. The hidden valley on Viral was silent, but only for a moment. Far beyond the hills, the alien hunters regrouped, their sensors sweeping the terrain with deadly precision. Eli and the three alien princesses knew that this calm would not last. The hunters were relentless, and the galaxy did not forgive mistakes. "We cannot hide forever," Valera said, her glowing eyes sharp with determination. "We must fight, or they will take us." Eli swallowed hard. He had never faced anything like this. No weapons, no armor, just his mind, his courage, and a few tools scavenged from the planet. But he refused to show fear. "Then we fight." "Smart," he said. "We use the terrain, traps, and teamwork. They may be strong, but we are clever. And together, we are stronger than you think." Leora and Cirrus nodded, their confidence bolstered by Eli's calm voice. This human, fragile as he seemed, was inspiring them to believe in possibilities they had never imagined. The hunters arrived in force, engines roaring, weapons glowing with energy. They spread across the valley, encircling the trio. Eli's heart raced, but he stayed focused. "Follow my lead," he whispered, pointing toward a narrow canyon hidden behind boulders. "We'll lure them in there." Valera moved first, her agility unmatched. She darted across the open ground, drawing the attention of the nearest hunter. Energy beams fired, but she dodged with supernatural speed, keeping just out of reach. Leora and Cirrus followed Eli's instructions, setting small traps and using rocks and debris to create obstacles. Eli's plan was risky, but it worked. The hunters, blinded by the glowing forms of the princesses, did not notice the sharp cliffs and hidden pits ahead. One hunter fell into a shallow ravine, while another tripped over a cleverly placed snare. The princess's strength, combined with Eli's cunning, created chaos for the invaders. "Human," Valera said, between movements, her voice almost amazed. "You are extraordinary. Clever, even under pressure." "I'm just thinking." "Fast," Eli panted, ducking under a laser blast. Brains beat power. Sometimes. The hunters adapted quickly, however. They were elite warriors, trained to handle surprises. One of them fired a pulse that struck near Eli, throwing him to the ground. Cirrus gasped, but Leora and Valera reacted instantly, using their alien speed and strength to disarm and disable the attacker. Eli scrambled to his feet, heart racing, mind spinning with ideas. Using a loose boulder, he rolled it down a slope, creating a barrier and giving the princesses a moment to regroup. Now, he shouted. Together, they struck as one. Valera's agility, Leora's precision, Cirrus's unexpected bursts of power, and Eli's clever traps. The hunters were overwhelmed, unable to predict the coordination of human and alien. Minutes passed like hours. The air was thick with tension, dust, and energy beams. Then, one by one, the hunters fell or retreated, defeated not by sheer strength alone, but by strategy, teamwork, and the unexpected brilliance of a human mind. When the last hunter vanished over the ridge, the princesses and Eli collapsed briefly, catching their breath. Valera's eyes glimmered with something near respect, awe, and understanding. "You have changed how we see humans," she said. "Your courage, your mind, it is remarkable." Eli smiled faintly, exhausted but proud. "I just did what needed to be done. We survived. Together." Cirrus stepped forward, her hand brushing his arm. "You are not weak. You are stronger than we imagined." For the first time, the princesses felt something they had never allowed themselves in. The galaxy's courts or battlefields, trust and friendship with a human. Their bond had grown stronger through danger and fear, proving that even in a universe ruled by power and violence, compassion, courage, and intelligence could make a difference. Outside, the valley returned to silence. The galaxy still waited, full of dangers and threats. But inside the small group, there was a quiet triumph. For the first time, the alien princesses saw humans not as fragile, unimportant creatures, but as beings capable of shaping events with courage and cleverness. Eli looked at them, heart-pounding, thinking of the battles to come. "This is only the beginning," he said softly. "We'll need to stay smart, stay together, and be ready for anything." The princesses nodded. Together, human and alien, they had survived impossible odds. And far beyond the hills of Virel, a universe of challenges waited us. But one thing was certain: humans were not to be underestimated anymore. The first light of Virel's twin suns spilled over the horizon, painting the hills in shades of gold and red. The air was still, almost peaceful, but Eli knew better. The galaxy never truly rested. Still, for the first time since the alien princesses had vanished, there was a moment of calm. Valera, Leora, and Cirrus sat quietly near the small human settlement, their glowing forms softer in the early light. Their eyes, once sharp with fear and distrust, now reflected something new: relief, understanding, and trust. Eli, still exhausted from the previous night's battle, sat with them, feeling a strange sense of pride. They had survived, against impossible odds. Together, Valera spoke first, her voice steady but warm. "Eli, you have proven yourself beyond what any of us imagined. Not just in battle, but in courage, thought, and heart. You have changed how we see humans." Eli smiled faintly. "I only did what anyone would do if they had the chance to help. You needed protection, and I tried." "You tried," Leora said, her golden eyes glimmering. "No, you succeeded. You are extraordinary. Human. Cleverer than many we have met in the Empire. Braver than most warriors, and kind. That is something rare." Cirrus, the youngest, approached him cautiously. She placed a small hand on his arm. I trust you," she said softly. End. I have never trusted anyone outside our world before. The words struck Eli. Trust. It was simple, yet powerful. These beings, trained to be unstoppable and wary of all others, had chosen him, a human, and he had not failed them. The valley around them was quiet now, but not completely safe. Valera's sharp eyes scanned the distant hills. "The Empire will come," she said. "The Queen will demand we return. They will not forgive this." Eli nodded. "Then we must be ready. But you're not alone anymore. We survived the hunters together, and together we can face whatever comes next." The princesses looked at him, a mixture of pride and admiration in their expressions. Valera finally spoke, voice softer than usual. "Perhaps humans are not weak, after all. Perhaps we judge too quickly. This bond is new, unusual, but powerful." A quiet silence followed. The three princesses gathered closer to Eli. Their glowing forms shimmered faintly, reflecting the rising sun. He realized something extraordinary. The galaxy's most feared and powerful warriors had chosen a human as an ally, a friend, and perhaps even something more. "You have changed everything," Leora said quietly, "not just for us, but for our entire view of humanity." Eli smiled, feeling a warmth he had never experienced before. He had always believed humans could make a difference, even in a vast, dangerous universe. Now, standing with alien royalty who trusted him completely. He knew it was true. Suddenly, a faint signal came from the far ridge, a patrol scout, likely reporting back to the alien empire. Valera's body tensed, but she did not move immediately. Instead, she looked at Eli. "Will you help us?" she asked. "I will," he said firmly. "We face them together, and we survive together. You have a home here, for now, and you have me." Cirrus smiled faintly. "I never thought I would feel safe outside our empire. But here, with you, I do." The three princesses nodded, in quiet agreement. A bond had formed not of duty or fear, but of respect, trust, and mutual understanding. The strongest warriors in the galaxy had chosen a fragile human as their partner. And in that choice lay something powerful, something no empire, no hunter, and no danger could take away: a new alliance between species, based on courage, wisdom, and the unique strength of humanity. As the twin suns rose higher, casting light across the valley, Eli looked at the princesses. "This is only the beginning," he said. "The galaxy is full of dangers, but we can face them together." And for the first time in centuries, the alien princesses smiled freely, not with pride or arrogance, but with hope. A new chapter had begun. A chapter where humans were no longer weak, where courage and cleverness could stand against even the fiercest forces in the universe. Somewhere far away, across the stars, the Empire stirred, unaware that their most powerful heirs had chosen a human as their protector. And in this choice, a new legend of HFY humans are special was born.